touch up on this article from Yahoo. Everybody pretty much know what it's about tonight, so it ain't no it ain't no big surprise, anything like that. What's the issue? What's the topic? What's trending on Twitter, especially Black Twitter? Up in the jumbotron, I put up the article. It says it's from Yahoo. It was published, and I was starting to do the space last night and change it around at the last minute. I said, well, let me wait till the day, but I should have did it last night. But it says San Francisco to add Black reparations plan, $5 million per person. Payments of $5 million to every eligible Black adult, the elimination of personal debt and tax burdens, guaranteed annual incomes of at least $97,000 for 250 years, and homes in San Francisco for just $1 a family. These are some of the more than 100 recommendations made by a city-appointed reparations committee tasked with the thorny question of how to atone for centuries of slavery and systematic racism. And the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, hearing the report for the first time Tuesday, voiced enthusiastic support for the ideas listed, with some saying money should not stop the city from doing the right thing. Several supervisors said they were surprised to hear pushback from politically liberal San Franciscans, apparently unaware that the legacy of slavery and racist policies continue to keep Black Americans on the bottom rungs of health, education, and economic prosperity, and overrepresented in prisons and homeless populations. Those are my constituents who lost their minds about this proposal. It's not something we're doing or would do for other people. It's something we would do for our future, for everybody's collective future, says Supervisor Raphael Mandelman, whose district includes heavily LGBTQ Castro neighborhood. The draft reparations plan released in December is unmatched nationwide in its specificity and breadth. The committee hasn't done an analysis of the cost of proposals, but critics have slammed the plan as financially and politically impossible. An estimate from Stanford University Hoover Institution, which leans conservative, has said it would cost each non-Black family in the city at least $600,000. What's going on to you, Diane? I see you over there on YouTube. Today's unanimous expression of support for reparations by the board do not mean all the recommendations will ultimately be adopted, as the body can vote to approve, reject, or change all of them. A final committee report is due in June. Some supervisors said previously that the city can't afford any major reparation payments right now, given its deep deficit amid a tech industry downturn. Tanish Hollins, vice chair of African American Reparations Advisory Committee, alluded to those comments, and several people who lined up to speak reminded the board they would be watching closely what the supervisors do next. I don't need to impress upon you the fact that we are setting a national precedent here in San Francisco, Hollins said. What we are asking for and what we're demanding for is real commitment to what we need to move things forward. The idea of paying compensation for slavery has gained traction across cities and universities. In 2020, California became the first state to form a reparations task force and is still struggling to put a price tag on what is owed. The idea has not been taken up at the federal level. In San Francisco, Black residents once made up more than 13% of the city's population, but more than 50 years later, they account for less than 6% of the city's residents and 38% of its homeless population. The Fillmore district once thrived with Black-owned nightclubs and shops until government redevelopment in the 1960s forced out residents. Fewer than 50,000 Black people still live in the city, and it's not clear how many would be eligible. Possible criteria include having lived in the city during certain time periods and descending from someone incarcerated for the failed war on drugs. Critics say the payouts make no sense in a state and city that never enslaved Black people. Opponents generally say taxpayers who were never slave owners should not have to pay money to people who were not enslaved. Advocates say that the view ignores a wealth of data and historical evidence showing that long after U.S. slavery officially ended in 1865, government policies and practices worked to imprison Black people at higher rates, deny access to home and business loans, and restrict where they could work and live. Justin Hansford, a professor at Howard University School of Law, says no municipal reparations plan will have enough money to right the wrongs of slavery, but he appreciates any attempts to genuinely, legitimately, and authentically make things right, and that includes cash, he said. If you're going to try to say you're sorry, you have to speak in the language that people understand, and money is that language, he said. John Dennis, chair of San Francisco Republican Party, does not support reparations, although he said he supports a serious conversation on the topic. He doesn't consider the board's discussion of $5 million payments to be one. This conversation we're having in San Francisco is completely unserious. They just threw a number up. There's no analysis. Dennis said it seems ridiculous, and it also seemed that this is a one city where it could possibly pass. The board created the 15-member Reparations Committee in the late 2020 months after California Governor Gavin Newsom approved a statewide task force amid national turmoil after a white Minneapolis police officer killed George Floyd, a black man. The committee continues to deliberate recommendations, including monetary compensation, and its report is due to the legislature on July 1st. At the point, it will be up to the lawmakers to draft and pass legislation. The state panel made the controversial decision in March to limit reparations to descendants of Black people who were in the country in the 19th century. Some reparation advocates said that approach does not take into account the harms that Black immigrants suffered. Under San Francisco's draft recommendation, a person would have to be at least 18 years old and have identified as a Black African American in the public documents for the last 10 years. Eligible people must also meet 2 of 8 other criteria, though the list may change. Those criteria include being born in or migrating to San Francisco between 1940 and 1996 and living in the city for at least 13 years, being displaced from the city by urban renewal between 1954 and 1973, or the descendant of someone who was attending the city's public schools before they were fully desegregated, or being a descendant of an enslaved person. The Chicago suburb of Everson became the first U.S. city to fund reparations. The city gave money to qualifying people for home repairs, down payments, and interest or late penalties due on property. In December, the Boston City Council approved a reparation study task force. First off, let's be clear. Everson, that stuff that they're doing out there in Everson is not no damn reparations. Giving people money to go ahead and giving them money and telling them what they have to use it for is not reparations. Giving somebody $25,000 to go ahead and buy a home or to do repairs on your home and stuff like that, that's not reparations. What they're giving them is almost I wouldn't say it's a loan, but it's not reparations. So let's just get that clear. They've been saying that ever since finally went ahead and gave a couple people a little bit of money, but that's not reparations. And I'll say this one thing about the one in San Francisco. It seems like it's a lot for what everybody wants to see as a national reparation movement. This one here has a lot of different criteria. So that's something from what they're saying, that's a lot of different things than what we expect right there. So you must be eligible for 2 out of the 8. So, there's a lot of different things. We know the main thing to be for us to be eligible for reparations, you have to be a descendant of American chattel slavery. And here it's saying that, hey, basically you had to be born or migrating to San Francisco between 1940 and 1996 and living in the city for at least 13 years, being displaced from the city by urban renewal between 1954 and 1973, or the descendant of someone who was attending the city's public schools before they were fully desegregated, or being a descendant of an enslaved person. And that's the most important criteria to me, but that's also it's just one of many criteria. So that in itself could be a problem over there as well too. Ray, go ahead, unmute your mic.
One thing I was gonna say, man, you have to always watch the language with these people. And I ain't gonna lie, I really picked up on that from Brother Tariq. Because one thing they'll always say, and I've seen this argument online, is that slavery was never authorized in California. But that doesn't mean they didn't have it. I believe it was San Bernardino was the damn slave colony. They had slaves out there when they were, when that whole California gold rush happened. It was black people that was digging in their mines. It wasn't white folks like they lead you to believe. So that's what I wanted to land on really quick, is let the family know anytime you talk, and I'm going to say Neely Fuller said the same thing, listen to every single word, because they'll try to throw you off, with saying a little different words.
Like I say, this article on Yahoo, it garnered over 10,000 comments, and you best believe those comments regarding reparations were not one of a favorable opinion as well too. So it has upset a lot of white folks in this country that talk about reparations and to talk about 5 million. So we know about also the NAACP president today came out and he was saying that he didn't support reparations. He supported all these other different avenues that he felt would help with reparations, but he didn't support the actual cash payment. To me, that's the most important aspect of reparations. I want to get improved education. I want to get improved healthcare and housing, and I also want to get land as well too. But the key component in this, because there is a racial wealth gap that was created from slavery in this country. And I know you have some people saying, well, it's not that. Yeah, it is that bad. when you look at the actual amount of wealth that black people have accumulated in this country as compared to white folks, we need some actual money. White folks have been always able to get access to money in this country, and we also need that as well too. If we're going to talk about seriously trying to close this racial wealth gap. Judge, I sent you the speaker invite, so I don't know if okay, I see you up here. So yeah, we need in order for us to close this racial wealth gap. And I personally don't believe that they're going to sit up here and give $5 million. Just my personal opinion. That's not to say that we don't deserve it, but I have a hard time believing that they're going to actually write a check for each person. And this is in California I'm speaking about too. So I don't want everybody to think I'm speaking about the entire country, but in California, I have to kind of see it to believe it, if they're going to actually write a check for $5 million, because what's going on in California is going to affect the rest of the country, how this thing is going. So there are a lot of people that want to see this reparation task force fall apart, and they want to see this whole reparation movement go down the tube and die. So we're going to see exactly how this goes. And like I said, I'm going to touch upon some of those comments on Yahoo as well too. I'm going to real quick, Judge, before I get to you, I want to read what the NAACP president also said. And this is from a tweet that our girl empowered black girl had. Y'all, give me 1 second. Power Black Gal, and I'm because it's a tweet and it's from the actual NAACP San Francisco branch. So I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit. So bear with me because it's pretty small. It says San Francisco NAACP rejects $5 million reparation payment to blacks. Calls for reparation to focus on investments and opportunities in 5 key areas at a board of supervisors meeting on reparations today. The San Francisco NAACP today called upon the board of supervisors to reject a one-time $5 million reparation payment to blacks, but instead called upon the city to make investments in 5 key areas to atone for a history of racism, discrimination, and mistreatment. Listen, you can go ahead and call for the investments. In my opinion, you can go ahead and get the investments in the black community, but you still take the money. You don't refuse the money. The Reverend, and it never fails sometimes when you have these people that when they get into political sphere and they still reverence. The Reverend Amos Brown today said the Board of Supervisors, which is holding a hearing today at 3 p.m. on the city's reparation plan and Dream Keeper innovation, should redirect its focus on providing 5 key elements at a part of reparations, education, jobs, housing, healthcare, and a cultural center for blacks in San Francisco. And let's look at what he called on. This is what he's talking about: invest in education. Black students don't perform as well as their peers. We need remedial programs to help our children with reading, math, and science. The school district and city have moral obligation to raise up all our children, especially those families have been disadvantaged by discrimination. Okay, I mean, yeah, we don't have an issue with that. You still take the money. Economic empowerment with President Biden's infrastructure bill. We want to see more black people get the opportunity to get jobs on the billions of dollars of infrastructure work that will be done in our community, in our state. Yeah, that's also part of reparations. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with adding that to the actual cash payment. Housing. We want more housing, more public housing, more affordable housing for blacks. There should be preferential treatment for blacks to keep our people in this city. San Francisco has fallen from 16%, which the article says black population less than 5%. We need a new version of the 40 acres and a mule that benefits and assists blacks to live and thrive in San Francisco, a city that has done everything it can to drive us out through discrimination, as even wholesale removal during urban renewal programs in the 1960s and 1970s. Okay, no issue with wanting housing. Still, you keep the money. You don't turn the money over. You can't say, oh, well, we don't want the money. Healthcare. Blacks don't have the same lifespan as a majority population. We need programming that positively impacts our health, our longevity, and our mental health. Again, nothing wrong with having this initiative. That's fine. It still goes along with the dollars. Fillmore Heritage Center. The redevelopment agency destroyed a great deal of the Harlem of the West. When it was instituted urban renewal programs and drove black businesses and residents out of San Francisco, our people need a black center town, just as there's a Japantown, a Chinatown. We need to preserve and protect the Fillmore Heritage Center and surrounding blacks, not only as historic center of our people, but as a place to gather and grow the black community for future generations. Nothing wrong with any of these initiatives, and these initiatives are only strengthened when you give the money up. So by themselves, the initiatives they're fine, but they're better with the money. You got to have the money to go ahead and make those initiatives really pop. Judge Sarah, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Newstoter. I'm reading and listening and looking at this, and I'm feeling annoyed. I'm feeling some kind of way about the NAACP, and I think that we need to do something about this. I want to talk about the San Francisco thing, and I'm going to say this to y'all. And my whole life I've been the outlier because I don't speak according to what everybody else thinks. And if you know anything about history, those who lead, they was always the outlier. They were always called out, and they was always shunned. And for Black people, I'll be that. Regarding the San Francisco thing, and I'm kind of feeling some kind of way because people are complaining about them giving $5 million to Black people. I'm sorry, Newstoter, I'm going back to look at it. And so this is what I've been saying in this room over and over and over again. We are due repair, not just because our ancestors built this country. Yeah, we built this country. Yeah, white people are living off the backs of Black people. That is a fraction of what has happened to us. Again, I say this and people don't get it. We are not equal in this country. That is the biggest thing they've done. Stuff on this list details people, Black people who have been harmed by this country. And let me say this, and it's not the popular one. I'm a Black person descendant of slaves. My great-grandparents were slaves. I'm Black. But I love Black people. And I know the other man can't distinguish between Jamaican, Haitian, and American. We're Black, period. This details the time and the date. And the problem I have, if 100,000 Black people in San Francisco got $5 million, how is that skin off my back? How does that harm me? See, I'm listening and I'm paying attention because I'm trying to figure out why we still last, how we so smart and work hard and have this work ethic and this intelligence and we're last. And it comes to me, it has to do with values and not character. I saw tweeted this, and what I'm saying, if you can fill the requirements, the first one and two of the second one, you do reparations. And I don't understand why anybody would be beefing if I don't even know the number. 100,000 Black people receive $5 million. How did that harm me? How did that harm me? How did that harm anybody in this room if 100,000 Black people in San Francisco got $5 million? And I'm sorry that I'm angry because I'm hurt. I serve a good God. And rarely in my life have I ever wanted for anything because my heart is clean. I ain't trying to begrudge anybody or anything. This is a win, period, for Black people. This is a win for Black people. And I'm looking at comments and comments and comments. And the other man just sitting laughing. Looking at them laughing. Let me let them niggas fight amongst each other. They sitting there laughing. While in other spaces on Twitter, they talk about money and the banks and building and investing and having. While we sit here trying to begrudge people that look like us or something. I'm sorry, but it's a problem for me. And I don't understand. I just want to know if somebody received $5 million, how the fuck is that skin off your back? How does that affect you? I'm sorry, Newstoter.
Oh no, because I actually want to respond to what you say. Some of what you say, Judge Sarah, I definitely agree with you on that. It's no skin off any of our backs in here if the people in San Francisco get money. I think that number is closer to what they claim, 50,000 people, Black people out there. I will say this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I do believe down the road that you can go ahead and set up reparations for all Black people in this country. But first and foremost, before you can do something for all Black people, you must do something for the ones that actually built this. This was no small, the slavery. I heard you kind of say that, slavery was the absolute original sin of this country. Slavery destroyed the Black race. Slavery destroyed the Black family. I believe that Black people, they are deserving of something, but I believe Black Americans, the ones who actually built this country, who actually sacrificed, who actually had their families torn apart, ripped apart, they are the ones that's in line to do it. Just like the Japanese Americans got theirs, and just like Indians and everything else, other people got theirs. Black Americans, the descendants of slaves in this country, are the ones that should get that first and foremost, because you would have no United States of America if it was not for their sacrifice. They built this country up from scratch. They built up the continental US of A. They deserved it. When you had the Civil War, they went and they put their lives on the line. They fought in the Revolutionary War. They have fought in every war that this country has ever had. They've sacrificed. No group in this country has given more and received less than Black Americans, the descendants of slaves in this country. So first and foremost, before we go ahead and cut a check, and these people been here for, you talk about people that's been here for 150 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. I don't really think that's fair to go ahead for somebody who may have been here for 40 years or 30 years or 20 years and say, you know what, you guys have gone through the exact same thing. Is it? No, you have not gone through the exact same thing. Your family came over here and your family came here intact. They did not destroy your family. The Black immigrants who came to this country, they know all of their family members that came to this country because they came together and they stayed together. You had Black people you had women having babies ripped out of their arms as soon as they had babies and sold like a piece of produce. No, those people are the ones that deserve this. Their lives have been shortened through all kind of stuff. And you're right. The Black people that I'm talking about, they have gone through slavery. They've gone through Reconstruction. They've gone through Jim Crow. They've gone through all the horrors of the little shop of horror that America has had to offer. I'm not begrudging anybody that's Black and looks like me. Hell, I'll fight for your rights to get reparations in the land that you come from, be it from the Caribbean, be it from Africa, be it from the UK, be it from wherever, South America. You are deserving of reparations from your colonial slaveholders. We are also deserving of reparations from our colonial slave owners. There would be no United States of America without the sweat of Black people. We cannot minimize what slavery has done to the Black race. Slavery is what started the whole racial wealth gap between Black and white. That's what started the whole racial wealth gap. As soon as you had Black people coming out of slavery, doing positive things of Reconstruction, let us go ahead and throw in the Black codes. Let us throw in the Jim Crow and all this other stuff. Let's do what we can to go ahead and destroy these people so they can never get up on their feet. And that you could talk about the prison industrial complex. You could talk about the war on drugs. You could talk about all of this other stuff. And you were right. You talk about the way they threw highways in Black neighborhoods and the way they redline and everything else. And you're right. That is all part of the actual struggle that Black people. And then you had some Black immigrants that came over here that experienced that as well, too. But you had one group that has experienced all of it. They've gone through it all. They've seen every single step of what America's had to offer. And they didn't volunteer to come over here. They didn't come over here of their own free will. So no, I'm in disagreement with that. Not all Black people. The first and foremost, you owe a debt to Black Americans in this country, and you need to pay Black Americans before you pay anybody else. And simply because somebody's Black does not mean they're entitled to what Black Americans did. Let me put it another way. Everybody's contribution to this country is not equal. We tell this lie here. We sit up here and tell this lie that it was immigrants that built the United States and they made the country great. No, it was one group that built this country from scratch, never got a dime for it, never got any credit for it, was completely written out of history, and they paid the ultimate price. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the greatest tragedies in human history. A Holocaust that lasted for hundreds of years took place in this country right here. Little damn babies being fed to alligators. Women having their bodies ripped apart and babies yanked up out of them. Men being castrated, set on fire, being hung, having legs and limbs chopped off, having people having their tongues cut out of their mouth and everything else. No, there's no comparison to what Black Americans went through in this country to anybody else. They are the ones that should be getting reparations first and foremost. And once you straighten out what you've done to Black Americans from slavery, then we can go ahead and we can start talking about reparations. Like I said, for the war on drugs, we can talk about the red line, and we can talk about the prison industrial complex. We can talk about all this other stuff. And even when we talk about that other stuff, Black Americans are still bear the brunt of it. So they should still be at the top of the damn food chain when we start talking about kicking reparations for that as well, too.
Can I respond to you?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
First on the talk, I want you to understand. Do you understand that I'm part of that? And I gotta be.
I'm part of that as well, too.
You know what? I know my family. We have family use. I know my grandfather. I know all of it. I post on put up my grandfather's gravestone. He was born in 1870. I'm a victim of hate crime by the state of California, and I should be here working on getting repaired and I have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against them for being anti-black. What they did to me. See, I love black people, okay? And I understand what you're saying, but this $5 million in San Francisco includes people in slavery. It's not taken away from them. And I'm sorry, my heart is different. My heart is not like that. All of what you're saying is true, okay? You're right. You're correct. This $5 million goes to black people. That includes descendants of chattel slavery. So I don't understand why it would be a problem. Everybody's going to get it.
Well, the problem I have, Judge Sarah, is that the reparations lineage-based thing that we're trying to get pushed in this country movement, we're talking about right now for the repair of slavery. So I get what you say. I'm not trying to disrespect other black people. It's no sweat off my back, but black Americans have never got anything strictly for black Americans, and black Americans are due a debt that they family members died for in this country. I too am a descendant of that as well too. So before we go ahead and we divvy everything up, I'm talking about black Americans. I'm not talking about everybody single solitary that's black that may have just came here 10 years ago, and you telling me that they do the same thing that my great-great-grandfather who fought in the Spanish American Army wars do, or his descendants? No, I don't see it like that. You talking about my father was born, my father was born 20 miles, 30 miles away from Rosewood. You're saying that people that came in this country for the past 20, 30 years to do what my father and his mother and their mothers do? No, I say nonsense.
So if they get money, okay, so if the descendants of chattel slavery are paid this $5 million, and I'm sorry, and what I have to recognize, God has to give me the discernment. I gotta know when to let it go, because I'm a different animal, and clearly. What you're saying is what the same type of shit crackers, red and white people say about us. Hate and just want to take from us. I understand what you're
saying. Don't twist my words around. I'm not saying a damn thing what crackers saying. I'm saying what's real. I'm saying that black Americans, you sitting up here trying to say that black Americans don't deserve anything for their suffering. That's what you're saying. You're saying that everybody should get. Well, I'm saying, damn it, black Americans are ones that died building this country. They first and foremost should get their stuff, and then everybody else should get it afterwards. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so Newstoter is if whatever number in San Francisco get $5 million, and I'm gonna have to let it go because some people just don't think like me. That has nothing to do with me. If you have the latest claim and you believe this is what you were doing, then you develop an organization and you do that. See, this is what white people do.
Stop talking about what white people do. I'm not talking about a thing. Stop. No. I'm gonna check you right there. Stop what the white people do. Okay, this don't have a thing. I'm talking about what black Americans did, what they built this country up. You sitting up here talking about you throwing white people in my face. I don't know what you talking about. I'm sitting up here talking about black Americans built this. Black Americans built a country where other black people could come and migrate and better themselves. Don't sit up here talking about what I'm saying, what crackers did and this and that. I'm talking about what black Americans contributed. I don't know what you're talking about. You're trying to move the goalpost or something.
Excuse me?
I said you're trying to move the goalpost. I don't know what you're talking about. Who do you think been pushing this reparation movement? It's been black Americans. Well, don't sit up here, Judge. Don't patronize me. I'm trying to do what crackers do because I don't appreciate that.
The word white people may trigger you, and if that's the case, my apologies. I will try not to make that reference to you because it seems it triggers you. If it's trigger anybody, should trigger me. But I love black people, and I'm trying to be successful. All I'm saying, and I'm just gonna let it go because it is what it is. Them receiving $5 million ain't no skin off my back. And what I do is I look and I observe, and I keep trying to wonder why we're losing. What I'm saying to you is, what you're saying, nothing you said is incorrect, Newstoter. But I have a problem when you say why they getting theirs and I'm not getting mine, because that sounds like jealousy and envy. Okay,
Judge, if you can't understand why I'm saying why Black Americans should have to share anything when they've shared everything from the civil rights movement and something that was supposed to be exclusively for them, and they've shared it with other Black people, they shared it with Hispanics, white women, gays, handicapped, and everything else, and something that's specifically for the people that died building this country up. If you're saying that you don't understand what I'm saying, then yeah, we are at a loss right here. We at a loss, sister.
Okay, so I think what you said about sharing, I think we do have a disagreement because I have no problem with sharing, and this has to do probably with philosophical who I am in my core. I never had a problem sharing anything, and you know what? I rarely want for anything because I don't mind giving what I have. What I'm saying to you is this thing in San Francisco includes Black people descendants of child slavery. It is inconceivable to me why someone would try to alter that. It's because at the end of the day, as Black people descendants of child slavery is going to receive $5 million. And I don't understand why would someone want to disrupt African American, Black American descendants of child slavery of $5 million just because somebody else going to give it to you. I don't get that. I'm a land there.
Thank you, please, because there's no point of us going back and forth. You don't understand what I'm saying. And, I really don't know how to put it any plainer than what I said. Black Americans have not gotten anything for the suffering that Black Americans, meaning those descendants of chattel slavery in this country. Had Black Americans already got something, I would have no issue divvying it up, splitting it up. But for the fact of the matter that Black Americans have not got something, and then we're going to sit up and we're going to say that, everybody Black in this country is going through the same thing, that their stories, that's nonsense. History says different. This country record says different. Nobody in this country, no other Black ethnic group in this country is going through what those descendants of chattel slavery is going through. For that matter of fact, no other group in this country, maybe with the exception of Native Americans, and even they have gotten something in return, have gone through what Black Americans have not got diddly squat back for everything they've gone through in this country. So
you rather them get,
I'm saying I'd rather Black Americans, first and foremost, there's a debt that's owed, and they're the ones that's owed it. That's what I'm saying, Judge. I'm not speaking French. I'm speaking English here.
But what I don't understand, if we have the opportunity to get something,
we have an opportunity to give the people that's never got anything in this country, which are the descendants of chattel slavery. They're up first and foremost, and everybody else, I'm sorry if this sounds insensitive, they can wait in line like we have waited in line for hundreds of years.
The opportunity you were speaking of, where is it? Where's the opportunity you're talking about where we can get $5 million
Never mind, Judge. Never mind. If you don't understand what I'm saying, if you don't comprehend what I'm saying, if you're saying that I'm being this insensitive jerk here, somebody that's sitting up here, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what you're saying. I really don't.
What I think is that you're angry. Let me tell you something, Newstoter. I study this. When I'm not living my life, I study this because I'm tired of my people being mad. I study this, and I don't understand why, if they have an opportunity of getting $5 million, and maybe somebody else has to get $5 million too. How does that hurt?
Judge Sarah, I'm gonna move on to the next speakers. Because me and you just gonna keep going back and forth in here. I understand exactly what you're saying. You're saying all Black people should get reparations in this country, and I don't think you understand what I'm saying, because I'm being very clear in mind.
I didn't say that.
You're saying all Black people in California, because all the Black people in San Francisco, Judge, you're saying should get reparations.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh Lord.
I said what? No, see, and this is what you Newstoter, because I hold you out to be very reasonable. And what I know is this topic is very touchy, and it causes us to change how we feel and how we think, and we don't think rational. This is what I'm saying. I'm looking at the opportunities that are out there, what we can get. If there is an opportunity for Black Americans to receive $5 million and maybe 10,000 more, I can get it too. Give my people their $5 million.
Okay, thank you, Judge Sarah. I appreciate you speaking tonight. Let me go ahead and get to Lizette Israel, I believe.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity for me speaking. I don't really have a problem with anybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't have any problem with the people in San Francisco receiving their $5 million. I just believe that as Black Americans, we have to stand fast about reparation movement regarding us as the people that should receive before anyone else. I have no qualms with anybody from the Caribbean, from Africa. It's just that we built this country, our ancestors, and we're still struggling. Everybody's, I know about the redlining, the mass incarceration, but everyone's also forgetting about the crack epidemic in the 80s. From 82 on, it was rough. I'm from New York City, and I'm talking about you could not go out your door past 11 o'clock because someone thought you were a crackhead. We have gone through too much in this country not to receive anything. I don't care if they don't give us $5 million, but our ancestors deserve. We deserve free housing, free education, free, as far as some of us also, matter of fact, all of us, we deserve therapy for free. We deserve not to pay taxes. We need land, not just 40 acres in a mule, because it was supposed to be 40 acres in a mule plus $1. That's the thing everybody keeps forgetting. We were over $1 too, which is going to add up to more than $5 million. Hopefully, we'll be here to receive this without infighting with each other regarding how much is due to each party. I'm just concerned about us holding it together. I'm 60 years old. I don't know if I'm going to be here to receive $1. I don't know. But I hope our people do get that. We need it. I've gone through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and here we are at 2023, going through the pandemic. I had to change my career. I had to take this shot I didn't want to take just to survive. We need this money now, not yesterday, today. We must form our own party in Congress regarding reparations. We need legislation to help us build on what we lost. Because right now, we're suffering. We're the people at the bottom, and we're not getting any better. How do we get around all this? I need answers. I'm 60. I seen when Black Americans was thriving during the 70s. We owned grocery stores and all kinds of stuff. And then I don't know, it became a shift in the mid 80s and we lost everything. We need to rebuild all of that. And I land my plane there.
All right, thank you. And I'm in agreement with you. We need the repair. And like I said, the initiatives that the president from the NAACP said, nobody would disagree with what he said. But when you sit up here and you throw out the actual money aspect, then yeah, that's when the major disagreement starts right there. Because part of the repair also means that financially you got to go ahead and you got to set Black people straight as well too.
Exactly. And if they gave, a lot of Black people don't realize, they gave land to the Irish that belonged to our people. We got chased off the lands, and they still own right now. I'm not too sure a lot of people know that.
Well, they definitely took a lot of land that Black people and it may not just been the Irish, but they was taking a bunch of land that Black people had and giving it to other white folks in general. Like, so yeah.
Exactly, yeah. We lost a lot of land. To this day, these people have land that doesn't belong to them, and they're living better than us. We should not be living like this.
I agree with you, and everything you said about the reparations and for everything from like I said, the drug era to the redlining to everything that you could think of. Reparations are old. My thing is that first and foremost, before we get to all of that, I believe that slavery needs to be addressed. Slavery was never been addressed in this country, and that's what I want us to focus on right now. I have no issue with other Black people down the line getting what they deserve, but till we get to the point where we take care of the first debt that's owed in this country for the original sin of slavery, I can't focus on all that other stuff. I'm just being honest.
Exactly. Yeah, protective class, just like they protected other people. We need to be a protective class all to ourselves. That's another thing. We're not protected in this country.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely agree with you on that, and I definitely appreciate you. And stick around if you have any other things you like to add to the conversation tonight. I'm gonna get to Christina, and I'm gonna get to Sassy. Christina, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to just say that slavery was our personal USA Holocaust, lasting centuries. And the Jewish Holocaust only lasted about 12 years. And I can't think of anything worse than what our ancestors have been through. And because of that, I know a lot of people want immigrants and people that came here later throughout the years and after 65 to be on the same level and receive reparations with us. But slavery can't be hooked up with Jim Crow or anything else. It's its own separate thing. Is that it was that bad that it can't go with anything else. It can't be linked with anything else. Therefore, it would have to be lineage based, where only the descendants of those people that went through slavery here in the United States would be eligible for. And I think that people that came here later, they might have gone through some things too. They might have a case also, but that's a different, separate case. And with the way that some of the things were written up for San Francisco, that whole thing needs to be chucked out because it had too many loopholes in it. We know that a lot of those things that they suggested, it doesn't really work. We've had programs, and then we've seen how they ran the programs, and then they said that we would have preferential treatment. We never got the preferential treatment. Those type of things. In fact, things like the new immigrants seem to have preferential treatment many times over us. I was talking to someone about the article that I saw, read and saw on television about Howard having a pilots program. And I was looking around to see, well, who are the students? And they had a lot of immigrants in there, and I didn't see any of us. I mean, they had Black people, but they weren't native to this country. And I was like, that's a daggone shame that an HBCU would do something like that. But I don't believe they run, their allegiance are to Black people. And I just want to add also that, when people come from other countries, if we do our research and learn their history and where they're from and what they're about, just coming here to the United States is a huge deal for them. Coming from, and I've seen it, and I've had friends coming from a place where you had to go maybe fetch your own water, where you have no roads, where you have no sewage, where you're going to the bathroom outside, just coming here, that is their reparations. Having all the programs that we have fought for, people have actually went to jail and died for, and even people that we might have known, or maybe we were born right after, but even people from back in the 60s that really put in the work also. They've come in here and they don't recognize that is a reparations for them. That should be considered reparations. They should not even be putting their hand out asking for any kind of money, because when they get here, then they get everything, and I mean everything. I have friends that work in that area, and I actually have one friend that his cousin said, I want to come to the United States. He came and he videotaped himself walking over the border. It was easy peasy. These people are literally just walking over the border, and when they come, they have vans like we have buses that come every so often, pick these people up, hand them money. They get everything when they come here. That is their reparations. They have no business even looking at our reparations from slavery, putting their hand out, saying, well, I'm black too, or yeah, we came from Africa too. We should have something too. All that. That's ridiculous. But that's pretty much how I feel about it. I think that this needs to be a separate thing. I think we all these different policies, like the baby boomers, they're thinking let's get programs. That stuff doesn't work. That's old. They're out of touch. That's something that we can include with money, but we got to have the money. And $5 million might seem a lot, but even that was sort of on the low side, you know. But especially in a place like California, and if they really did the math, it would be a lot more. I don't know if people really understand that 5 million sounds like a lot to most of us. It sounds like a lot to me, but I know if I do the math, it's going to be way more than 5 million per person.
Let me ask you real quick, Christina. Do you think that 5 million that's something that they'll actually pay out as well too?
I don't know if that. I think that they will pay millions out. I don't know how soon. Like one of the other speakers were saying. I mean, you know, I would like it to come sooner than later, but I know how the people in this country work, and they drag things out, and they know how to drag it out, and they know how to get the lawyers and drag it out, and they know how to bamboozle and try to lowball you and get you all messed up with the wording, and then you go sit down and you think everything's all right, and then it's all messed up, like the civil rights and all like that. That stuff was supposed to be for us, and now it's pretty much for everybody else but us, you know. So yeah, I think they will pay. I don't know if they're going to pay, you know, in 15, 20 years. You know, we got, you know, it could be. I'm not sure how this goes. It could be where, like the alphabet people. I remember growing up, and it was a different time, and then all of a sudden you start hearing them, and then all of a sudden they gathered together, they started fighting, and then boom, next thing you know, everybody in the country could be married, and something like that happened. I said, you know, that's probably what's going to happen to us. It's going to happen, but it's going to have to happen all together at a federal level, and all this city by city and state by state. That's going to be, you know, some states are going to give us a run for our money, and some states are going to be a little bit easier. But yeah, I hope sometime in our lifetime, I believe they will do it. But I think I just wanted to add one more thing, and then I'll land my plane. But I think that it's very important that we get this right, because these younger generation people, they're getting so far away from the civil rights movement and from the early 1900s and so on. You know, there's still a lot of people here that can remember their grandparents and great grandparents, and maybe even great great grandparents, and they might be able to say, yeah, my grandfather's father was a slave, and this happened and that happened. These people nowadays, they're young, and they're getting too far away from it. I think that they don't know our history. That's why it's important for us start really teaching them and showing them. They don't even see themselves when they see themselves in the media or somebody cosplaying them or anything like that. There was some Japanese guys. They were dancing and so on. Everybody thought it was so cool. Look at those Japanese guys. You know what they were doing? They were doing stepping. If you don't know if you don't know your history, when you see it, you won't even know it. And they won't give you credit for it. They'll take it and say they invented it. And I was like, anybody, you don't even have to ask them or anything. You would know when you see yourself. You're like, oh, that's stepping, and this is the history behind it, and this is how that arrived to be. But, that's important for us to know ourselves and teach the younger people about our history. And the more you know, the stronger you get and the prouder you'll be. But this is important for us to get this right this time, and don't start bending rules or getting soft. Stay strong, everybody. Okay. And I land my plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. We appreciate it. Yeah, guys. For those coming up in the space show, we're talking about the $5 million San Francisco reparations. We've been talking about the NAACP as well too. Want to know tonight also how you guys feel. Do you think San Francisco will actually go ahead and pay $5 million in reparations? We had Judge Sarah in here earlier, and of course, Judge Sarah got upset and threw a fit because, for the simple fact of the matter is, I don't support reparations going to every single solitary person. First and foremost, we got to focus on Black Americans. This is about lineage based, and I think that they should keep it like lineage based. And I think if you go ahead and dilute it, you're just really, really hurting yourself. So first and foremost, there's a debt that's owed to the people in this country that built the country, those descendants of chattel slavery. I have nothing against anybody from the Black diaspora, and I do believe they deserve reparations first and foremost from the country that they actually originate from. And once we go ahead and we take care of the actual slavery issue that's never been taken care of in this country, then we can start going ahead and we can start. The next thing up would be the actual Reconstruction era. It would be the Jim Crow era. It'd be the Civil Rights era. It'd be redlining. It'd be all the other different things as well too. So I just want to go ahead and get that in there as well too. Judge Sarah, she has her views and her opinions, and we definitely have a agree to disagree, to just put it mildly on that. So I'm gonna go to Sassy, go to Leon, and go to Liv, live and about. That's Chantel. So go ahead, Sassy. Unmute your mic.
Yes, good evening, grace and peace, and greetings to everyone in the chat, everybody that is somebody. I thank you for having me. I was listening to our other two ladies, and I'm tuning in. Will San Francisco actually pay $5 million in reparations? I feel they should, and the answer is yes. Now, let me say this. So today, I can tell our morale has been knocked down a notch, but we're going to keep fighting. Anything worth having, worth fighting for, is going to face opposition. Okay, but we're going to run over the opposition and keep fighting. Okay, we've always had to fight. Black Americans have had to fight. We didn't flee. Okay, we've had to fight a systematic racism, a system built to destroy us. San Francisco needs to pay it, and they should. So today, one of the chats was calling all of the members of the NAACP. Now, I don't know if you all know this or not. And I sat and I listened because I didn't have to work today. And he called every single member of the San Francisco NAACP. The gentleman who announced this, it wasn't a consensus, if I might say so. The other members who are aged knew nothing about it, nothing about what he did or what he said. And then so they're like, it wasn't the whole NAACP, right? So apparently he was the president was put up to it, or now I'm just saying allegedly, okay? I don't.
Yeah, it was the president, from what everybody said. The president of that chapter in San Francisco, the NAACP, did that.
Yeah, it wasn't the consensus of like the national or the entire chapter, and so they knew nothing about it. So, but in spite of that, and I don't want to
reiterate on things that have already been said. But I appreciate the fact that we did that. I sat there and listened as they called every single one of those NAACPs. And so they didn't agree with what the president did. And hopefully we'll get more information on that. So I'm speaking from experience of what I heard and just sitting there. And so, and here again, I don't want to reiterate what somebody said, these programs, want us to take programs, that's not going to work. No way, it's not going to work. Listen, I've been around a long time. And just to give us programs, the abuse that we have endured, no, it's not going to work. And so nothing is said by anybody when billions of dollars are sent to non-American countries that have nothing to do with America. Nobody says anything. But when the time comes for a debt to be paid that is owed, they have a kickback. Lord have mercy, they have a kickback. I tell you. So we're just going to have to keep fighting. I'm not going to, go back over the things that you said. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't agree with the woman who said we don't deserve reparations. You're just jealous, okay? You're just jealous, and you think that Black people belong on the bottom. But no. I stand to tell you, and I've got the wind at my back, along with other Black Americans. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep fighting until this debt is paid. And it will not be no governmental programs. Their governmental programs have not helped in the past. They're antiquated, old, and no. They didn't come up with programs for the illegal aliens that came to town, okay? And they moved us. They stayed in our rec centers. We couldn't go to our rec centers. For the Ukrainians, the money that was sent, nobody said a word. The Afghanistan, the money that was sent. So, no. We're going to keep fighting, and we're not going to stand down. I'm sorry. And we're going to get our morale back up, and we're going to keep fighting for reparations for Black Americans, the descendants of chattel slavery. Just a moment, I'm not done. I didn't interrupt anybody. So, we're gonna stand strong. We're gonna stand strong. And I know I've got the consensus. And
real quick, Sassy. Shantae, yeah, make sure your mic is muted, but go ahead, Sassy.
Okay, I'm easy to lose my time. But anyway, we're gonna stay the course. And I don't want a lot of the older ones, or even to worry. It's gonna be okay. I know it's hard to say that, but we know we're hurting. We just came through COVID. We've come through a lot of things, and we're just gonna have to stick together and stand together and keep fighting for what is rightly ours. It's unfortunate, but we gotta do it. And we're not gonna stalemate and just fall back. No. Even if the young people, probably Generation XYZ, if they want to stand and fight, some of our boomers and millennials might be getting tired. Pass the baton. You hear me? Pass the baton and keep fighting. And I'll land with that, and I'll close. And thank you for having me. And I'm going to land right there. And I digress. And again, thank you.
Oh, no problem, Sassy. And let me just say this real quick before I go to Leon and get to Shantae. The lady that was in here, Judge Sarah, she didn't say that we didn't deserve reparations. What she was saying that we, every Black person basically out there in San Francisco, all of them should get the reparations. And that's what me and her disagreed at, because I don't think every single solitary Black person, I feel like it should be lineage based, which we heard it was supposed to be lineage based. When you start throwing all these other things in there, to me, it dilutes it. So that was our issue right there with one another. She feels that, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt people to go ahead and make sure every Black person gets it. But my thing is, every Black person should not be getting it when there's still a debt that's owed to the people that it was never originally taken care of. So before you can go ahead and add X, Y, Z, you got to take care of A, B, C first. And we've never done that. We've never addressed that. So I also had an issue with her sitting up here saying, because I'm standing up for my people, my lineage. I'm a descendant of slaves in this country. Like I say, I have nothing against my brothers and sisters in the diaspora. I stand for them and their fight against the colonial powers of Europe, be it in the Caribbean, be it through colonization over there in Africa. I stand for them, and I want them to get reparations as well too. I just don't believe that you should be able to cut in line or get right next to me in line when your family did not build a country up. That's just I don't think if I moved over to Africa tomorrow, any part of that was colonized, and I stayed there for 5-10 years and they got reparations, I should have my hand out saying, you know what, I went through the same thing y'all went through. Go ahead and pay me as well too. To me, that's nonsense. I know everybody's black in here, and everybody said, well, I walk out that door, all they see is a black person and this and that, and there's some truth in that. But at the same time, you came over here with your family intact. Our family was ripped apart, destroyed. The destruction of black family didn't start in the 1960s or the 1970s when you had integration and you start having drug issues and this and that or whatever in the Vietnam War. No, the destruction of the black family first started when they were enslaved. That's when the destruction of the black family started. And after that, black people tried to piece their family back together time and time again. But that's when the destruction of black families started in this country. So first and foremost, we're going to take care of the issue that this country owes black Americans. And by black Americans, I mean the actual descendants of chattel slavery. And once we settle that debt, then we can go on to all the other historical damage that's been done to black people in this country. And the next up would be the actual would be Reconstruction, Jim Crow, all of those type of eras there. Before we even get to the war on drugs and mass incarceration, even before we get to redlining and everything else, we would have to go ahead and deal with that. So that's my issue right then and there. That's what we're going to have to go ahead and deal with. Once we deal with that, then we can go ahead and we can start moving on and we can start including people, but we're not to that point where we can include anybody. So that's the issue me and her had. I also took issue to her saying that I sound like a cracker because I'm sitting up here trying to defend my people. Yeah, that was kind of low ball, and I could have hit back really hard personally, but I didn't want to do that. So that was the issue I had with that sister right there. Let me go ahead and go to Leon. Leon, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, can you let Chantal go ahead of me, please?
Okay, Chantal, go ahead and you can unmute your mic. You there, Shantae? Let me see if Shantae, I'm not sure. Go ahead and unmute your mic. How you doing tonight? Shantae, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You want to go in and speak?
Yes, thank you. Newstoter, I want to give respect to you first before I even enter in your room. I was too busy trying to text somebody because they owe me some money. So my mind was all over the place. So I do apologize to everybody.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm sorry. I was trying to get some money quick. And I also got to give you an apology also, Miss Sassy, because when I got off the mic, I was not talking about you. I was sitting up here. Somebody owed me some damn money. So I was trying to get my money. So don't take offense to that. I'm sorry for that. When it comes down to this, let me stick to the top. San Francisco actually paid for reparations. I definitely think so. And if anybody on here think that they won't, shit. As long as y'all get fucking 4 million, 4.5 million, I still got great hopes for everything. The only thing I don't got hope in, I don't like, is when people from San Francisco be like, yo, we left. Okay, y'all left. It's okay. But we still here. I met great people on here that actually still live in San Francisco and still striving. And I can claim this ain't my business because he don't want me to say nothing. So I'll leave it alone. But I met a good person that was over here on this app that I talk to every day for like about 3 to 4 months that live in San Francisco. He got off about 2 months ago. Yeah, good dude. Now, the people that came up here this morning, they was kind of scared. They was like, oh, don't know white man and the Spanish people, they be harassing us. Damn, let me hurry up with this conversation.
They was harassing us, talking about some who they were scared about the Spanish people over there in San Francisco. They was gonna take their money, and can't no real nigga have no fucking money over there in San Francisco. But the only thing I wanted to actually tell them was because I was at work, and I couldn't really say anything at that time. So it was more of like, why the fuck is y'all scared of having fucking 5 million? My fucking man walk around with 10 million every day in his pocket. Don't nobody fuck with him. Shit, when motherfucking Hispanic people was coming up over, they was getting them $250,000 a pop per person, including their fucking children. And then I think in San Francisco, they actually was giving out fucking reparations or gay reparations.
Let's try not to curse too much, Shantae.
I'm sorry,
Oh, you
somebody owe me some money.
you cool, but
I'm trying to hurry up, and I don't mean to curse, so I will watch my language. And then it was like some LGBT community. I think that not too long ago, last year, the end of last year, the beginning of this year, they start even getting money. Ain't nobody walking around robbing them. Like, so why in the world will we be scared of even having $2-3 million in our pocket? Shit, excuse me, shoot. My man walk around with such and such amount of money in his pocket, and he ain't scared. Like, yo, we cannot be walking around being scared of getting what's owed to us. So those conversations is kind of corny and played out to me now, because everybody and that I know got money. I don't know why y'all would be fear of a Hispanic person like, oh, you got money. When we start being scared of other people's thoughts, we wasn't going out robbing no daggone Hispanic people for the $250,000 that they was given when they came out of Trump administration, and Biden was straight giving them money, $250,000 a piece, including their children. The only thing that gets me upset is when our own people work against us. When it came down to this dude from the NAACP talking about something, oh no, only thing we need is this. I don't like for us to be held backwards. We fought too long, we came too far, and we got to get that mindset out. I don't even like to be around people at this point in time that even indulge into too much negativity. We work too hard to get what we deserve. We've been deserved this. We deserve this. We deserved our reparations, I would say, like about 100, 200 years ago. And I was coming forward. And I appreciate every single last one of y'all that's putting this effort and everything together. I thank y'all. And everybody else that's scared, I wouldn't say get out the way, because we probably still need you for something. But don't get up here being scared. I hate when people pump fairness into my heart. I hate when other people pump fairness into my children. My grandmother, grandfather, great uncles, great grandmother that I knew before she even passed away, I knew her. Her name was Mama. They burned her shit down and did all types of things to her. In West Virginia, my family actually come from Virginia, both sides. So when I hear people getting jealous of people from California, tell us something, well, why y'all getting it from California and we ain't getting it in Virginia? I salute everybody that stuck together in California and stick together everywhere we go. If we had to get up and go somewhere else to make our life a little bit more easier, then that's just what we had to do. I hate haters. I love a person that comes together and makes sure that everything comes together as supposed to be. Then that gives me the courage to get the fuck up off my behind and get it. I'm tired of everybody putting us down. It used to be a West Coast, East Coast beef, South and North. It ain't the time for that no more. And I'm talking too much, because I got other things to do. But I tell you one thing, I do love my people. Keep the discouragement out my face. Don't bring fear or try to pump no fear into me or my children, because we don't roll like that. And I don't want y'all to roll like that neither. I don't care if California getting it first, eventually we're going to get it too.
Only thing they did was set the map and let us know how the fuck we wash my mouth. Let us know how we supposed to get it. We was on the news yesterday. We was actually on the news, nationwide, on the news yesterday. So we ain't doing this for no reason. We out here, and we just got to stay focused. I could say more than that, but somebody owed me some money, so I bow down. Newstoter, blessings to you and your family. I never met you a day in my life, but for some reason I love you. Never met you, but God bless to you and your family, and to everybody else in your family. Stay strong.
All right. Thank you, Shantae. I appreciate that, sister. Much love to you and yours as well, too. We're going to go ahead and get it to Leon. Guys, we're going to go ahead and get it to Leon. Then I want to read a few comments. I know Original was trying to get up here early. Original, I don't know what's going on. I know the past couple of days you had issues getting up here, speaking in the space. I don't know how some people can come up and speak and others can't. I know, Professor, you was trying to get up here yesterday as well, too. So I just want to give you guys a shout out and stuff. I wish y'all could come up here and speak as well, too, because I know y'all would definitely be dropping some jewels up here in the space as well, too. So only thing I can say, fellas, is just try to maybe clear the cache, go to Twitter and clear the cache, or maybe even the clear the data, perhaps even go clear the data instead of cache, clear the data and turn the phone on and off or whatever. Check for updates, check through the Google store or the Apple app or whatever, Apple store, and see if there's any new updates. I know if you got an Android, it was a new update today as well, too. So that's the only thing I can say is clear the data, guys, and try to come up here if you can, because I definitely would love to hear from y'all. Let me go ahead and kick it to my man, Leon. Leon, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, Newstoter. That's why I let the sisters speak, because they had a lot to say, and some of them took my thunder. But that's okay, though. That's all right. I needed extra time to calm down, because I was on space earlier, and I was a little heated, but I got a little bit of clarity. What I was about to say here, I'm gonna try not to curse. I really am, because I'm still kind of fed up, and I'm not a San Franciscoan or whatever how they call themselves, but the process is a stepping stone to the national, just like the California statewide with the Reparations task force. It's all a stepping stone. NAACP, I'm going to say it like this, nationally or the local, I'm just going to say it nationally. They need to be boycotted. They can't be trusted. Let them go and do their thing for the Latinos and the Asians or the Ukrainians or whatever to have you that they stand by. I do not accept or respect anything from you. You do not do anything. I repeat, you have not done anything for Black Americans in the last 60, 70 years. You have failed us. You have failed us miserably. And this action that this reverend, fake reverend, I guess he still thinks he's back in the 1960s, because the PowerPoints of his 5 points are still the same from the 1960s. The playbook is dead. I repeat, the playbook is dead. Throw all those plays out, put them in the damn trash, use my language, put it in the trash, burn it. It's time to write up some new plays, because those tactics are outdated, and they're not, I'm sorry, I don't want to be like that, but they're not going to work. Even if they did work, and we have documentations throughout the past 50, 60 years on how well these PowerPoints or these points that he's trying to bring up, that the civil rights and the NAACP has been trying to usher in time and time and time and time again with the Congressional Black Caucus, those other do-for-nothings, and none of these policies have done anything for Black Americans. And if they did, it will start, then you would have either a Republican conservative or
liberal will come in the next time of the changing of the guards up at Capitol Hill, will kill that policy or that bill. So then the funding will stop for that program. So I say, to eliminate that problem, give me the cash in hand and let me do for me. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. Just give me the money. You know, should San Francisco give up that $5 million? Absolutely. Do they needed to do it in my space earlier? I had the company on there, and we were discussing it. You don't have to do it in a lump sum. It's just like lottery. You get the option of either do a lump sum or you do it in payments. It's okay, you can do it in payments. This way you won't be crippling the economy of San Francisco. But either way, they still need to pay. Now maybe the powers that be in San Francisco might be afraid that all the blacks that are left, I think the blacks there in San Francisco only are, I think, less than 3-4% at most, because a lot of them can't afford it. A lot of them were homeless. I think homeless is almost about 8%, and most of them are Black Americans. So, and the cost of living is high. So even if you get that $5 million, how are you going to buy a home that's worth $3 million? Then you're going to be sat there with $2 million left. I would just take the $5 million and go somewhere else that's a little bit cheaper and get $1.5 million home in somewhere in California, because I'm sure there still is property out there that you could probably get a place for $1.5 million or $2 million, but not $3 million. And run. That's my right, because it's my money. But this is something that we all need to think about, or we all need to keep a watch for any of other NAACP shenanigans when a certain city, because we have Detroit, not Chicago. I think Chicago did one. No, not Detroit. St. Louis. St. Louis just put a commission together. So we gotta watch these other places that are putting these commissions.
And Detroit, like you said too. Yeah, Detroit's forming one too.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure about Detroit. That's why I kind of backed off on that. But yeah, these areas and our brothers and sisters in the areas, keep an eye on the NAACP. Not only them, keep an eye on the Urban League and Al Sharpton's National Action Network, because for some reason these boule shiftless Negroes are starting to play the block in the paint for Jim Crow Joe and the white supremacists. Yes, I said it, because I talked about this a while ago. And I didn't thought I would see this happening, but boom, today it happened right. It's like in my face. I'm like, are you serious? But the moral to the story is, or what I'm trying to say is, take a lesson from San Fran and just keep your eye out on your city and make sure they don't do the same thing, because I have a spidey sense that is going to happen. This is just the beginning. Now land there.
All right. Thank you, Leon. I know you did have a space going on earlier today as well, too. So shout out to you for also covering this. I want to go ahead real quick and just touch up, because like I said, the actual article had over 10,000 comments on Yahoo. And best believe there are a lot of people that's not happy about this whole issue being raised here. They want to know exactly how they're going to afford it. How can they pay this? They're talking about it'll be $250 billion. What's going to happen when they spend all the money up and this and that. So I just want to go real quick and read a couple comments from the actual comment section where this actual article came at. And just put this into perspective, over 10,000 comments for this article on Yahoo. This is what this is actually curated from. So you got over 10,000 comments talking about this actual San Francisco reparations as well too. And anybody that wants to come up and speak, go ahead and request to speak. You guys know lately it's been kind of hit or miss with some of the speakers coming up here. Some of our usuals can't get up here. Unfortunately, DJ Co-host has had a hard time getting up here as well too. So original professor, they couldn't get up here. Bobo's been trying to get up here for about the past 3-4 days. He couldn't get up here as well too. So anybody that wants to speak, by all means, go ahead and request it. I'm gonna go ahead. So if I miss anybody, Ray, because I may not see them because I'll be reading some of these comments. If you see anybody that wants to come up and speak, go ahead and approve them to speak. And anybody wants to speak real quick before I go and start hitting up these comments real quick and just see the comedy that's involved and just the actual mindset of these people in this country here, and the way they actually feel and the actual hatred a lot of them harbor towards black people, it's just something else to actually really, really see. So anybody wants to speak real quick? If not, then I'll go ahead and I'll cover a couple of these comments real quick. So give me 1 second while I pull this up, guys, and I'm gonna just take a quick look at some of this real quick. It says, honestly, $5 million per person. I guess that if that ever really happened, I should buy stock in Nike and Porsche. For sure, those companies would experience growth never seen before in the stock market. $5 million per person, $5 million. So you're going to give $5 million presumably to an ordinary American that will move them into a wealthy status, while minimum wage is $15 or less in states, and the average household income in San Francisco is a shade above $126K. Make the math make sense. Then make the push for this make sense. Heck, give me $100K. That would be life-changing, let alone $5 million. I agree. Once wealthy, I feel Nancy P. would welcome all of them as her new neighbors. Weekly barbecues will be so much of a common thing among the new elite class. I guess black folks love to barbecue it up. Up to 50,000 people eligible at $5 million apiece equals $250 billion. How exactly do the leaders of San Francisco suppose to fund such a plan? Oh yeah, by oppressing and penalizing taxpayers, a vast, overwhelming majority of which have never contributed to such oppression. Through massive tax increases, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Oppress and penalize the entire population to appease a very small percentage of the population. Then what happens 5 to 10 years after the distribution, when the $5 million apiece is all spent, wasted away on God only knows what, and the recipients come back hat in hand protesting that $5 million apiece wasn't enough, saying it was just another form of systematic oppression? Where does it end? Meanwhile, housing will go up astronomically. Eventually, their houses will get foreclosed on due to taxes, and they will be back on the streets. Given money fixes nothing, education and jobs fix the problem, period. They should start a GoFundMe page for 1 year. Make it countrywide, and everyone who feels guilty and wants to feel better about themselves could donate. And the total at the end of the year could be divided up among those that qualify. No tax write-off for those that donated, just out the goodness of their heart. No tax monies used, no taxpayer on the hook for something they had no part of. I've often thought that crowdsourcing was the way to go for these proposed feel-good add-ons that politicians demand others pay for. Tax money should be used for basic running of a country and nothing more. Why would they do that? They can't buy votes.
Hey, I'm sorry to cut you off, but that last comment, I actually agree with that guy. But here's the bad part: it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I see Original trying to come up, so I'm gonna try to get you in here, Original, if I can. It's been hard. I'm trying to get you approved right now, but for whatever reason, it won't let you stay up. So I'm trying to get you. Professor's trying to come up too. Professor, I'm gonna try. That's all I can do is try. But like I say, I don't know what's going on with this at all right now. So, we got Professor up in. I thought Professor was up here for a second. I'm about to say, Professor's up here. It looked like it was gonna let you hang up here for a minute, Professor, and then it kicked you back down. So I'm gonna send you two both the invite. I don't think at this point it matters. I don't know what's up with the spaces right now, guys, but I'm trying to get you guys up here. But yeah, let me go ahead and read a couple more. Anybody else want to say something before I go ahead and start back reading these comments? Hey, Ray, are you there? Let me see if Ray is there.
Yeah, man, I'm just chilling, man. I tried to approve him, but like you said, keep dropping them down.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna just in case Ray, because I'm gonna be on the actual Yahoo page, so I can't see who's coming up. So if you see anybody that wants to speak, just go ahead and approve them. I'm gonna go ahead and read a couple of these dusty comments up. Yeah,
Excuse me, Newstoter.
yeah.
Real quick. Have you updated your app?
Oh yeah, I updated mine today.
Okay. You're using Android, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that all the Android users in here make sure you update your app. There was an update yesterday, I think. And my Android users, sometimes you got to go in your update and force it to update. You might have to slide the screen down and watch the circle thing dialed so it updates. Sometimes the update doesn't come in right away unless you force it to check it. So I just wanted to let my iPhone users know that. So this way you can try to keep up. I don't know what's going on. Right now I'm on iPhone, but I also get on with my Android too. So I don't know.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know. It's been an ongoing problem, man, for the past few days. Like I say, some people can get up here and some of them can't. So I really don't know what the issue is, but hopefully they'll go ahead and get it fixed up soon, because it's knocking people out the spaces. People can't come up here. They're trying to request. Sometimes they're requesting 10 times up in the space to try to speak. You approve them for a second. They got them in the speaker section. The next thing you know, they back down to listening. So it's really frustrating. Especially, it's a lot of our people that always come and support the spaces, and they're used to contributing in terms of speaking all the time, and they can't say anything. So, that really, that's really bothersome right there. That's why I'm trying everything I could. I'm telling everybody what I know about trying to restart it and clear the cache and even clear the data. But it doesn't seem like it's working right now. So like everybody, make sure you guys stay up to date as much as possible on with your updates as well too. With Twitter, check it daily, especially with these spaces. Check it to make sure they haven't sent out a new update. They do, go ahead and update it and turn off your phone, and that should help. Also, always try to clear the cache out as much as possible as well too. So go ahead and touch up on a couple more comments. I'm trying to get my people. Go ahead, Ray.
So they want people to get frustrated and start leaving, because you know how most people are. You keep trying to connect, and keep coming back day after day after day, and you keep running to the same problem. Some people are just gonna say fucking leave. I think that might be what they might be trying to do. So like I said, there's a lot of days I can't even call because obviously the space is so janky. But that don't stop me from coming on. That don't stop me from going to YouTube. Don't let them let us get frustrated, family.
Yeah, that's real talk, Ray. Real talk. And like I say, any of our people want to come up and speak. If not, I'm gonna go back and read a couple of these comments, boy. You got a bunch of victims in these comments right here. You can just, the hatred and the vitriol that they have for black folks, they can't hide it. The world is about to come to end. The rapture is about to happen. Like, they trying to get these jigaboos some money here. We can't have that. My man, Professor, he trying to get up here, Professor. I know you trying, bro, but it's just like all for naught, unfortunately. Like, that sucks, because I ain't heard my man Professor come up here and spit nothing in a minute either. So that sucks, because I wanted to hear Professor up in the spot. Definitely wanted to hear Original, and that Negro, he was up in here. He was the first one up in here. He was trying to get up in here. So I don't know, man. It's just they just jacking the spaces up. Elon's supposed to be the golden boy, I thought, but Twitter seemed like it's no better with him. And in fact, the spaces seem like they worse now since he done took over. So I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, let me get back real quick. Ray, if anybody comes and wants to say something, go ahead and let them approve them and let them come on up here. Let me read some of these people nonsense over here real quick, just to kind of get the conversation started in case anybody wants to speak. Dude Robert says, my wife and I are retired now. We had to deal with equal opportunity employment during our working years. Minorities were given hiring preference over us. I worked my way from living on the street. I'm a homeowner now. I did it by working 2 jobs, working a lot of overtime. I don't owe reparations to anyone. Okay, Robbie, I get you on that. And then this dude, I guess he replied, he said, that's because you're a real American that worked for everything you have. You and only you did this on your own. You should feel very proud. I don't even know you, but I'm proud of your life journey, especially your accomplishments. Your story is inspirational and proves in the United States of America, anybody can make it if they work hard and have the drive within. Great job, bud. Oh, I have always believed that we, the taxpayers, this is William. I have always believed that we, the taxpayers, should have a say in the most important spending issues. I also believe the politicians want full control of that spending 100% of the time. 5 million per person. 5 million per person is unbelievable. What we If this is what they want to spend our money on, it is time for a severe censorship. This will be the most damaging thing to happen to race relations in the last 60 years. Divide and conquer is a Democrat mindset, and I reject it. Barry6191 says, you as a taxpayer have a say. Quit voting for these people. People in California complain all the time about what's going on out there. Taxes, overpowering laws, yet they are all written by progressive Democrats, and they continue to vote for them. Kevin says, fight prejudice with different prejudice, unfairness with greater unfairness. What could go wrong? Coming from parents who were in debt until their deaths and have worked steadily for 45 years and still working to be able to retire at 70, I'm not really a big fan of those who say I should be paying for the sins of others. It's the sort of thing that makes me consider going off the grid with my income. No more tax dollars to you. BK says, since there are no any money, I don't know what are you talking about. Since there are no any money in the US budget other than freshly newly printed, also the debt could not be paid off even by our grandkids. The US will continue to decline. It will lead to complete destruction of the working class, US middle class. Where is this going to lead to? Seven says, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. My parents immigrated from Austria. Other children made fun of my parents talking with the accents. This caused me emotional distress in my childhood. I want my 5 million also. Huber says, agree. I grew up in San Francisco with my parents immigrated from Asia. Other children made fun of our family because we appeared different. This caused me emotional distress in my childhood and continues to this day. I want my 5 million. Check out a couple of replays. Oh, here goes Carl. My great great. I know, right? You like the little you can, that's why I'm adding a little condescending part to the little voice that they said to. Here go this cat Carl talking about my great great grandpa was in San Francisco one day and there was a tremor. This caused him emotional distress and he moved to the Midwest because of this. I'm certain he would want he said respirations. This dumbass couldn't even say reparations. He talking about respirations sent to me. Thanks and have a nice day. So this dumbass couldn't even say reparations. He talking about respirations. Asians have suffered in history and still continue to suffer even from all the violent attacks from black criminals. Uh-oh, here we go. This one is hipster. Let me read this one over again. Asians have suffered in history and still continue to suffer from all the violent attacks from black criminals. I did not grow up in the U.S., but Canada and Asians suffered in Canada, but nothing like we see in the U.S. So let's check out the replies real quick. Tabby says, no, you have not in comparison to chattel slavery. Any rights you have in the U.S. because of the civil rights fought for by black Americans. What has Asians suffered in the U.S. and overcome that has supported the advancement of black Americans? So thank you. Like finally somebody with some common sense. Okay. You are ignorant. You do not know there are white criminals as well. Duh. So these jokers here, like I said, these jokers wrote 10,000 comments, billions of dollars in taxes to fund social programs.
I'm sorry to cut you off again. And the thing about it, if any of these immigrants that was not here during the quote unquote, what the hell they call it? Ellis Island. That's it, Ellis Island. If they came back, say if they came, I'm just hypothetically speaking. Say if they came in the 70s. 9 times out, any of them, Europeans or Asians or whatever, they have money. You can't be broke and come over here unless you're a refugee. Because it costs money for a plane ticket. And it also costs money to come over here. Who's funding you? Unless you have somebody that's funding you, which is usually other family members. Other family members set them up with jobs at the local restaurant or the laundromat or whatever they have. Then they have them go get loans. Say, and there's loans out there for them. Most of it is zeroed down. They don't have to pay no interest for 5 years. None of it. But the business loan, homeowner loans, they don't tell you all that. See, they already got most of these immigrants, when they come over here, they already got a leg up on Black Americans. They don't tell the truth, though.
No, you can't tell them that they don't come over here with just a shirt on their damn back, and that they just work so hard, and their work ethic is just so superior to what lazy black people try to do. And if black people had a third of the actual work ethic they had, they would have been pulled themselves up by now. That's why I'm reading these Peckerwood comments right here real quick. And like I said, you got an Asian sitting over here talking about all of the actual attacks that black people are doing on him. And this is how racist he is, because thankfully over here we source up. Scholarship normally wins out, and it was proven yesterday in the actual hate crime report from 2021 that once again, by a large margin, Black Americans were the ones that suffered the most hate crimes. It was also proven that Asians were pretty much towards the end; they were at the actual bottom of it, and Asians experience more hate crime from white folks than they do from black people. So exactly what are we talking about here? But he wants to sit up here and talk about all of the hate that black people are inflicting on Asians and stuff like that. So it also goes to show that it doesn't take a whole lot to get other people to go ahead and turn on black folks. White supremacy, it might be created by white folks, but it don't take a whole lot of other racial groups and minorities to go ahead and toe that company line as well, too. So that's why I said the actual hate crime report, and it's not like I needed to actually read the hate crime report to already know, because I already know from all the other numerous hate crime reports that black folks are the ones that experience the most hate crimes. So I didn't really even need that, but it is always good to source up as well, too. So I'm going to go ahead and read some more of these comments. Anybody that wants to jump in, Ray, Leon, I can't see because I'm not on the actual app while I'm reading it. So if you guys want to jump in, you guys see somebody trying to come up and speak, go ahead, Ray, approve them. Leon, if you want to chime in, if somebody wants to chime in and respond to one of these comments, these crazy ass comments I'm saying, but those coming in, we've been talking about, will San Francisco actually pay $5 million in reparations? If you want to go ahead and give your opinion on that, do you think they're going to pay it? If you want to give your opinion about the actual crap show that was done today by the NAACP president out there in San Francisco as well, you're more than welcome to talk about that as well too. Like I said, I'm going ahead and Yahoo, the article that I read from earlier has over 10,000 comments of pissed off white folks and pissed off other races as well too, up here whining and crying and complaining about what they think black people gonna get. That we're looking at the actual rapture about to take place. Armageddon is about to happen. This white dude said, if you go ahead and do that you're going to make race relations worse than it's been the past 60 years. So once again, crying about nothing and money that won't even come out their pocket. Now, we've already seen that the U.S. just has dollars to burn. Ask Ukraine. Ukraine can definitely tell you that the U.S., their pockets ain't short. Their pockets are nice and deep. Just when you think that they don't have enough money, they go ahead and they reach down and they pull out a few more billions. So we don't even want to hear all this nonsense right here. So like Ray, Leon, be my eyes while I'm actually reading this as well too. Somebody wants to come up and they want to say something. And if you guys want to say something in the comment, just say, hey, Newstoter, if you want to respond to a comment I'm reading, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get this going back real quick. It says, let's see. I read there was no thought given to the calculation to come up with this amount. First off, it is insane to attempt to draw in otherwise rational people to ask, okay, what is a reasonable amount? The amount is zero. As Bob Wilson, civil rights activist, says, systematic racism is an excuse given by those who refuse to take advantage of the opportunities this country has given. Don replies, he says, exactly this. No one seriously expects $5 million. They're testing the waters to start the conversation. That way, several years from now, people will settle with something lower that would have ordinarily been opponents. Let's see the replies to that. Counter offer, $0. Time to vote those council members out of office ASAP. Add welfare already. That amount needs to be paid back to the government. Negotiations have to start somewhere. If California taxpayers needs to put aside another 20% of their income for this, There are not government-funded programs. They're taxpayer-funded. This is crazy. There are no slaves alive today, Dennis J. says. If they were, they might be eligible for such a payment, but their descendants are not. My forebears immigrated. Their forebears always came in this country, and they always managed to come over here after slavery was ended too. My forebears immigrated, and okay, and nonetheless, who else? The usual suspect as well. My forebears immigrated from Ireland, and as indentured service, of course, they were indentured service, and were treated worse than slaves in many cases because they were not a permanent asset. They would be free once their servitude was completed, so they were not particularly well treated. I do not feel entitled to a payment because of their treatment, and neither should descendants of slaves. It's always one of these people that claim indentured servitude lineage, always sitting up here talking about they people were treated worse than slaves as well too. Anybody left out there in politics that has any sense, anybody out there that wants to actually do things to govern this country from either side that actually wants to make things better, of course there isn't. They would never get elected. Right, let me bring down some more comments. Even if Brett says, even if it were to happen, the vast majority were wasted within a couple years and then blame systematic racism for not being able to manage their money. Their biggest beneficiary would be Cadillac and Nike. We got Buckwheat. Let's see what Buckwheat got to say here. Buckwheat said, the vast majority would be dead inside 24 hours of cashing. Jealous ones who were not paid will see that. And 5 million wouldn't pay much in their way of housing either. And the areas they would go to would start a death spiral. You can't give someone 5 million and expect them to have an idea of what to do with it. Dave Chappelle was right. You got Max saying, I'm considered a moderate voter for Biden, Obama, and Bush. I love San Francisco. I love San Fran and spending my hard-earned money, eating out and spending money in that city. If this gets passed, I will never step foot and spend money there again. The people, let me see. The people and the elected officials are no longer using common sense. George says, if 20,000 qualify for $5 million each, that is $100 billion. San Francisco's total budget in 2022 was $14 billion. Don't people realize that money cannot be created by hoping or wishing? Wow. Dina says, wow, San Francisco won't raise teachers' wages, won't spend money for those public schools in struggling neighborhoods to equal those affluent public schools, won't find solutions to help the homeless, provide clinics to oh shoot, that comment just dropped real quick. Let me see if I can find that comment. I can't find it. I'm California born 65 years ago. I did not own slaves, nor do I recall anyone I've ever met owning slaves. When you support this, please open your wallet and donate to the cause. Okay, I think, let me get back to Dina. While San Francisco won't raise teachers' wages, won't spend money for those public schools in struggling neighborhoods to equal those affluent schools, won't find solutions to help the homeless or provide clinics to help them or get them mental illness, general health, or drug problems. They won't hire more cops because to the increasing crime against homeowners, workers, businesses because of budget cuts. Yet they have $5 million to give to each person who qualifies. The mayor and the city supervisors need to be recalled immediately. This will make San Francisco even worse. Poverty will get worse, crime will go through the roof, and businesses will close and relocate to a safer, more efficiently run city that is safe for employees, customers, etc. To go there instead of lawless, bankrupt San Francisco. Why not invest in those areas that have been ignored for decades by every mayor and supervisor? How about providing safe, clean housing to replace the rat traps that are riddled with crime and gangs and drugs? How about investing in hiring qualified and good teachers? Why not invest in a strong police department that has enough officers to make a strong and valid effort to lower crime? Why not invest in better services for the homeless, mental health, and drug users? Why not invest in the people you ignore? Invest in them so they learn better skills for their jobs and make more money, which would mean they would spend and pay taxes a little more. My bet is 95% of those people on the reparations board and presenting this proposal will be eligible for the payment, says Lou. Lee says, hadn't thought of that. You may be right. I'm curious of what the criteria is to qualify. Marja says, how is this constitutional? Collective punishment and taxing people for something they never did to others, for harm they never suffered. What? This needs to go to the Supreme Court. Zero chance this is legal. TPS says it will. There is far more constitutional basis for student loan forgiveness than this, and probably won't happen. I rarely say things will never happen, but these things will never happen. Scott says reparations should be based on personal donation from those that agree with the cause. Trust me when I say it won't only be conservatives who are against this. Nobody wants their tax dollars to be wiped out and lose all city services due to reparations. Bama Duck says, as others have mentioned, it is not simply conservatives who question this proposal from the San Francisco City Council. To the state obvious, California was never a slave state, and no citizen in San Francisco or California allowed today had anything to do with slavery. There has undoubtedly been discrimination against African Americans in San Francisco throughout its history, but that doesn't mean taxpayers should literally pay for it. California has been at the forefront of affirmative action programs in schools, universities, many job positions for decades, which is clearly meant to make amends for the past discrimination. And finally, if San Francisco and California want to hand out reparation payments, how about starting with the Native Americans whose ancestors were literally wiped out by gold rushes and the Euro Americans who followed them to California in the 19th century? JR59 says part of the new left strategy to buy votes, like the student loan relief, it will never see the light of day, but will garner many votes for the fake effort. Ranger says, I don't live in California, but other states occasionally bring this up. Both my parents moved into the U.S. in the 80s from Wales, and I hold a Wales and American passport. I make more money in the U.S., but plan on retiring in Scotland. None of this is my problem or my fault. I won't apologize for being white. England, France, and the Netherlands caused most of the problems, but those problems ended over 150 years ago. Move on. Colonialism has always happened. 2,000 years ago, the British population was declared indigenous savages and pagans by colonizing Romans, and many were slaughtered and enslaved. It happens, but you need to get over it. Improve upon your future rather than living in the past. Professor Fate wants everybody to know I'm a white American who had ancestors come from Europe or somewhere in digital service. When they arrived in the U.S., they were discriminated against, robbed, beaten, and treated like slaves in various dangerous industries they were allowed to work in. I personally have not been treated badly, but since people I never met were, I deserve money for nothing and for chicks for free, but I'm not greedy. I'll just take $2 million and call it even. Robert says, we have been paying for reparations for years. Federal and state housing, food, and other programs for cash. Time for people to work for these benefits. Mr. Mike also wants to add, he says, some people will say that all the Northerners who died in the Civil War paid any debts owed to Black people with their lives. Others will say their ancestors were not even here during slavery or Jim Crow eras. Still, others will suggest you sue people, you sue those who are actually responsible for any current systematic racism. They remind you that children are not legally responsible for the debts of their parents. But those facts aside, how do I get in line for some of this free money? How Black do I have to be? Do I have to also be Native American to qualify? Can I claim that the racist treatment of my ancestors, though not Black, has damaged me psychologically? Do I just have to be a Democrat? What's the deal? Dave says, don't forget to pay the people whose ancestors fought in the Union Army during the Civil War, which ended slavery. Lawrence wants you to know the average person of any color will not earn $5 million in their lifetime. I am 74 and haven't earned that much. And there is a widespread and wealth across the population. So even if reparations were justified, why give each person the exact same amount? Do I like the Wheel of Fortune, the Price of Right, and have each individual spin the wheel to randomly determine the amount? But in my opinion, trying to fix past wrongs distract from the focus on the future of equality. Ernest says the end of slavery was 1865. I'm Black. Okay, we got supposedly a Black person. We always have these trolls on here talk about they Black, but Ernest says the end of slavery was in 1865. I'm Black, but I don't see how Black people today should get reparations for events that did not affect them from the 1600s to the 1800s or even the 1940s. If people individually had been affected directly, in the last few years, I can understand, but African Americans have had many opportunities available to make a good living, get a good education, make millions of dollars in some cases, and be able to be part of a society among other races. All right. I was just trying to see if anybody wanted to come up and speak or say anything real quick, guys. If anybody want to speak or say anything. Original, I see you still in the listener section. I know Professor was up in here, but he was having some issues as well too. Ray, go ahead, unmute your mic, and then matter of fact, Ray, let's go to Christina. Then we'll get back to you since you're a co-host. Go ahead, Christina.
Hi. Yeah, I just that's unbelievable what they were saying, but basically, I was listening to Professor Black Truth a few weeks ago, and he spoke on this, and I totally agree. And they just need to realize that this is a debt that never was paid. We never got our 40 acres and mule. We never got a lot of things. We saw new immigrants come into this country, offered land, money, education, to get on their feet. All these things we've been seeing for the longest, even up until now. And, but going back to the slavery era times, we've seen all these things come to pass, and we're still waiting for our check. And when these people come from other countries, Italy, Ireland, and so on, they might have been hazed when they got here, but nothing like people in slavery went through. Nothing, absolutely nothing like that. And at one point, then they were accepted. We have never really been accepted in these things. When they came to this country, these new immigrant people, there was a debt already, and if they want to move here, they have to chip in to pay off the debt. That's the whole thing. Professor Black Truth was saying, if you see a really nice house, perfect, ideal, everything you ever dreamed of, but then you find out it has a lien on it, if you want that house, you got to pay the lien. If you want it, you got to pay the lien. You can't go back and forth with it, arguing about well, I wasn't there when that debt was made. That has nothing to do with me. I just want to buy the house. That's not how it goes. If you're an immigrant and you come here, then you've come here in the last 20 years. Well, I wasn't back then, and I wasn't, Jim Crow. We didn't have anything to do with it. You still got to help pay off this debt. You still got to make it right. If you want to live here and live off of everything that we see here and now, all the beautiful buildings and amenities that we see now, that's from the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. And even people that you see alive today that's old. Some people don't really talk about it every day and complain about it every day, but it was not easy growing up back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and so on. And it was a pretty treacherous time to be living. People don't really talk about that all the time, but there is a debt that's paid and that needs to be paid. And if they want to come here and get all these benefits that our country can offer, then they need to pay also. One of your speakers, I agree with him. He said that a lot of immigrants say do come here with money. Some do, but I have to say that the large majority don't. Even if they're, doing pretty well in their own country and they come over here, it's so expensive to live in the United States. The dollar is much more powerful than most countries' money. So it doesn't transfer that well coming to America as if we were going to their country. Our money lasts longer over there. But coming to our country, their money gets ate up quickly. There's all these different programs that we fought for, pretty much for ourselves, but then they were tagged on, and they get the benefit of all these things now, all these immigrant programs and so on. I live in Massachusetts, and they got this program now that will help Black immigrants in Boston. I don't know if anybody knows how expensive Boston is. Boston's very expensive. The average home, they were saying, is around about $800,000, in Boston. They're getting these people in the houses. And the article said that the houses would be around about 100,000. So there's a lot to it. But they're getting a lot of different benefits all the time made up for them. We're excluded out. We don't have anything just for us. And then when we do get things, then we're all in the mix, and we somehow get in on the bottom. Say if we were struggling and we needed assistance, went down for Section 8, we would be able to apply for that, but we will also be told that the list is literally 10 years waiting list. I've seen it with my own eyes. People come out off of the boat or off of the plane, and they will go down there, say that they're refugees or they're coming over here, to new immigrants. Next thing you know, they're set up. Next thing you know, they got a Section 8 certificate within weeks, maybe months at the most, and they're living nicely. They get pushed right in front of the line all the time on us, jobs and so on. My dad, he's a baby boomer, and I'm trying to, just open his eyes up, because I don't think a lot of the baby boomers even recognize that it's not the same when they were young and there was affirmative action. It was new, and they were put in position, rightfully so, to get all these great jobs and so on. It's not like that for a lot of times, for a lot of people. And I try to point it out in just everyday life so that he can see. We're driving by. I remember when I was a kid, when there was construction workers working on the road, doing anything. You see our brothers out there with their hard hats and so on, making a living. Now you don't never see any of us. Every time I bring him to the hospital, to the doctor's appointments and so on, then I look around and say, well, where's the Black people? Where's the nurses, the doctors? You don't see us there. I hear some of the people that you're reading off saying that we have all these opportunities and so on. It's not as good as some people think. And it's a shame that we're still going through these type of things. I have a close family member. She just became the first female Black arson inspector of LA Fire Department. And she even had a hard time with that. This was just recent. They almost failed her for the fire department, licensing. Basically, she was a great student, but when she had to demonstrate, the guy did everything he could to intimidate her. And he went on a filter. It didn't matter whether she was doing great or not. He was picking everything apart. So we had to go through a lot of red tape. She did it again with somebody different, passed through perfectly. And now she's excelling. But this is our story. And I think that it's like no other. Even with, I know that some Black immigrants, they have issues too, but it's not like our story. And that's why I think that we definitely need to separate ourselves so that we can get what we are owed and not share every last thing with everybody. We need to separate ourselves and not fall into that trap again. And that's what Biden is trying to get us to do right now. He was saying that We are owed reparations, but so are the Indians. And he wants us to put them on our tab. And I was like, if we do that, it's done. So I mean, we need to still stand strong and don't back down from this. Keep moving forward, because it's going to happen. They're going to try as they might, but they're going to have to go ahead and do the right thing by us because we're not letting it go this time. I land my plane, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Christina. Ray, you had something you wanted to go ahead and add? I know you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I was just gonna talk about the fact I think I posted in the jumbotron about how if you want to actually get in contact, with an NAACP branch or whatever that they have, you can actually call them and brief your staying with them and come with this decision. So, and again, I've already said this before. You was reading all those comments, bro. We've heard every excuse in the book. When it comes to us, they literally have every excuse in the book. I heard them talking about, the Civil War, the Civil War's reparations, but they conveniently leave out, how, the Northern whites, when they found out they were going to be drafted, they started killing black people. If you on Google, you can look up the draft riots and read about them up in New York, how they were going around just slaughtering black people when they found out they were going to have to fight for them. And then after the Civil War was over, they put black people in concentration camps down in Natchez, Mississippi. And we all, I don't know if, everyone, heard the whole story about, the Devil's Punch Bowl and, the horrible things they did when they starved the people out and used their dead bodies to fertilize the oranges down there. So how can you say that and this was Union soldiers. So how can you say, you did all this fighting for black people and then you turn around and do all these horrible things to black people? I mean, I've heard about, how my tax dollars should be used to pay for something I didn't do. But hell, I didn't put the Japanese in internment camps. My tax dollars go to them. I didn't destroy the World Trade Center. But guess what? My taxes go there, to help pay for 9/11 victims and the things that happened with them. So taxes should be used to compensate us. They just got, like I said, every excuse when it comes, to us. They want to lump us in with Native Americans only because they know that lots and lots and lots of white people identify as Native American. It's another way for them to basically undermine us. So, we have to really be on our P's and Q's about this type of stuff, man. I heard about, why am I responsible for the sins of my forefathers? This happened so many generations ago. Because guess what? They profited from their sins of slavery. And those profits were passed down generations and locked out from us. Listen, at the end of the day, they gonna have to come off some bread. If not, then honestly, the next war that pops off, Black Americans just need to sit back. I mean, what's the worst they can do? Is put us in jail? I mean, realistically, that's the worst they can do. How are you gonna get mad because we don't want to go fight when y'all mistreat us, when y'all don't want to give us the money that we are owed? This is the greatest example of gaslighting I think I have ever seen in my lifetime. These people have every excuse in the world. They think if they give us some money that Cadillac, I think you said Cadillac and Nike are just gonna, boom. They aren't worried about them because again, there are gonna be some black people that fuck their money up. That's just is what it is. It's like I hate to say it, when you have a family member that dies, they take the insurance money, they fuck the insurance money away. There's always gonna be people that do dumb stuff with the money, but they aren't worried about them because that money's gonna come right back to them. They're more worried about those other black people. Let's just say out of 10, 5 of them actually take that money and they flip it and they become millionaires, and now they're passing down generational wealth, and now they're building a community. They don't want us to be independent of them, even though they say that. Because I was looking online the other day. I think there's a page. It's literally called Stop Wokeness or Stop Wokeism or something to that nature. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows the brother Ben X. He has this thing that he's sponsoring called the Hereafter Farms. And I actually follow the brother on social media. And on the Hereafter Farms, they're building like these tiny homes or whatever. And they was like, "Lo, you see this segregation is back. We gotta stop wokeism." I'm like, don't y'all bitch and moan at us about how we should be building our own communities, but now you're preaching that we're practicing, segregation. How is us putting our resources together to build something for our own community to give back, to our children, something we can pass down to them through trust. How was that segregation? Like, why y'all really take, as some of our master teachers taught us, y'all really try to take both sides of the argument, and that's just not right. I'm gonna land right there, man. Like I said, they're gonna come up with every single excuse on the book, and the Irish. I don't even want to hear about the Irish. They try to conflate the Irish with the slaves, and that's just not true. Indentured servitude was not slavery. They got paid after they basically got out, and they all obviously they talk about who's gonna qualify. You have to be 30% black. If they don't do it for the Native Americans, if they don't do it for the Jews, they should do it for us. Because I guarantee them, they're not giving them, if they're 3%, Jewish, whatever, they're not giving them 3% of the money. They're giving them 100% of what they're owed. But when it comes to us, it's always got to be percentages. Everyone needs to be involved in this, that, and the third. Like when earlier when you were arguing with Judge Sarah, you actually were making really good points. This is not for every black person. This is just for the people that are old. If you can't understand that, then I was with you. I don't know how well really I can't explain it to you any better. We're talking about a specific people from a specific lineage. After that, yes, if you were wronged by whatever country you come from in South America or Africa or whatever, we will stand behind you. But don't get in our way and try to stop us from doing our thing. Why are you trying to cop block us? And that's my big issue. Our own people that we fought for to come over here are actually turning their backs on us. I'm going to land there.
All right, Ray. Definitely can't say I disagree with you. Whenever it comes to like black people, they always throw the Irish because they treat the Irish, I guess, like poor white trash, and they want to sit up in the Irish itself. They'll tell you themselves that they were treated worse than us and stuff like that. Now here they came over here, they volunteered to come over here. And yeah, some might have been, been hijacked and brought over against their will, but every black person that damn that came in that transatlantic slave trade was hijacked, was stolen, was whatever. So not only that, the Irish kids weren't indentured servants. Once they did their 7 years, that was it. The Irish kids, that they didn't take the Irish kids and sell them, and they did do this and that and everything else to them as well too. So I don't even get into that crap there. That's just another way of deflecting. Then they like to bring the Native Americans, and they want to sit up here and talk about, well, if anybody should get it, it's a Native. Like, if you want to give the Native Americans reparations, you've given them stuff before anyways. But if you really want to give them something, you would have been getting it. You don't have to always include black people. So whenever it comes to black people, we got to start throwing every other group and every other race in there to try to dilute it. So no, I'm not even trying to hear that.
Talking about that yesterday, like what's his name, the Robert Byrd, the cat that got drugged down in Texas. They could even let him have a bill on his own. They had to include the other guy, Matthew Shepard, I believe he was a gay white teen or something, and he got like beat up.
That was him, yeah.
Yeah, Matthew Shepard. And truth be told, I've heard that had nothing really to do with his sexuality, because I heard he was allegedly sleeping with one of the guys. It was like a drug deal that went bad. But again, I'm gonna say allegedly on that. So, like I said, they can't let us have nothing, man. Like Paul Mooney said, don't even want us to have a cold.
Real talk. Christina, I think your mic might not be muted. I'm gonna go ahead real quick because I see Insane. He hasn't had a chance to speak, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get to Insane, and then I'm gonna get to you, Leon, and Christine. I know you had your hand up, so I don't know if you want to speak again. But anybody else that's in the actual in the space that wants to speak as well, too, just go ahead and raise your hand. But Insane, how you doing tonight?
All right, Toto, how are you, Ray, and everyone else in the space?
What's up? What's up, man?
It's a good space, man, and just listening to you read off some of the comments was sad. It's nothing new, but it was almost amusing when we really began to speak about a plantation mentality. That pendulum swings both ways, because I'm hearing comments that essentially amount to that old plantation owner, that master that was saying, well, Rufus, what you gonna do if you be free? You can't be free. You don't know what to do with freedom. That's all you're hearing, that same type of mentality, an unwillingness to accept the fact that things must change, and that we can handle, like we handle freedom fine, we can handle money fine. That's all. It's a plantation mentality, that same mentality that possessed a lot of Southerners when they sat around and talked amongst themselves. Well, what are they going to do if they free? They can't have them free. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves. That's all you're hearing. It's an extension of that you're seeing on the other side. Regarding this issue about what they're saying, about who rightfully deserves reparations, I think that it's better for me when I'm having these discussions with people to keep it on the legislative instruments that were used to hold us back rather than putting it on slavery, because that almost unintentionally guilt trips the random individual out here. The government owes us. It was a government that codified it. The government owes us. You know, you had things like the overturning of the 1875 Civil Rights Bill, which, you know, led to a slow erosion of rights, ultimately voting rights for black men. As that's happening, they are grandfathering in illiterate white men. Now, grandfathering didn't last that long officially, but we all know, we really don't know what happened in the day-to-day lives when it came to certifying one group vote versus the next group. But these are the types of things that I think is wise for me, you know, to do when I'm discussing this thing called reparations. And here's why. In the Jumbotron, I posted a discussion that some gentlemen on YouTube were having. They're all fairly well learned. And they were saying, hey, throw the whole slavery issue out the window. Let me talk to you about the 1875 Civil Rights Act. There's no way around that. And that black people don't receive the right to vote for about another 175 years easy. So that's going without the right to vote widespread. I'm sure there were some exceptions where people voted, but in the South especially, black people just simply could not vote. That was a legislative instrument that held us back. And when you get into the 1940s, in the wake of this WW2, you got a million GIs who are disenfranchised and denied their GI Bill. So the name of that, if you go down to 59 minutes and 58 minutes in this talk here, they began to talk about that. And it's part of a lecture series where they say, hey, they wouldn't let it go. It wasn't us. They tell us to let go of slavery. Well, guess what? Had they let it go at the end of the war and maintained the agreements that were had under Reconstruction, we wouldn't be in this space now. So it was them who would not let it go. They pulled the troops. They overturned that civil rights bill. They introduced a whole bunch of Jim Crow laws, which was a new type of slavery, which imprisoned a lot of black people, especially black men. So they would not let it go. So anytime anybody says anything, these guys really put that notion of letting it go really into perspective in terms of who would not let it go. And again, if you want to hear that, if you go down to about 58 minutes in that first video I just posted, they will go through a lot of that, and I will post one or two of the other same series. It's a 3-part series, very interesting. And I'll land my plane with that.
All right. Thank you, Insane. Leon, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, I'm back. I was just nibbling on something, but anyway, great points everybody was making. Let's not forget the Irish back when they got to New York, when they had their little local gangs. They were running the black people out of New York City. Matter of fact, the Irish gangs I'm talking about, they were actually killing them. Although they were fighting against themselves, but for some reason we always get caught in the crossfire. So they just make it easier to take us out. Like Ray said, indentured servitude is not slavery. It's totally different. Because indentured servitude, there's an end game. Slavery, there was no end. Your end was death. At least indenture, your end might have been, I don't know, 60 years old, 50 years old. But at least you know, you had an expiration and a point of working off your debt. Now, as far as these immigrants, like Christine was saying, I agree with her that some of their dollars didn't equate to ours when they came over here because they did have money. And like you were saying as well, a lot of the programs that they had set aside for these immigrants and programs they set aside, when they came over here, they did get pushed in front on the line, as far as getting the home loans, getting the business loans, what have you, what have not. So I still don't want to hear that crap about, they work so hard, because they didn't work hard. Working hard is be able to accomplish things that wasn't given to you, although they should have been given to you. When you work and you have stuff given to you, that's not working hard. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep that a buck. That's not working hard. Working hard is doing without. You've been turned down constantly, and you fought, and you still accomplish. That's hard work. Now land here.
All right. Thank you, Leon. Christina, did you, because I don't know, you had your hand up, but did you put it back down? Did you want to speak again?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let me go ahead and get to Mel. Mel, how you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on, Newstoter? Thanks for letting me come up and speak. Shout out to everybody in the room. Yeah, just a couple things. So the comments that you were reading, one of the comments in particular where the person was like, oh, they need to fix the schools in the areas that it's, I'm sure that the districts or the areas that person was commenting about is a predominantly Black area. So if $5 million per person reparations payment is received, I think we'll have a solution to that dilapidated school area. Okay. And I wasn't really sure about what Insane was saying, and that kind of made me want to come up here. Is I don't know if he's advocating for taking the mention of chattel slavery out of this reparations-based argument or not, because if he was, or if he's saying that the guys he was referring to were, that's the automatic no. That is the foundation of our problem. We, had we not been kidnapped and brought over here, then, we may not be here today, or maybe we'd be here as visitors. But because the vehicle of slavery is what got us here and put us in this 400-year slave position, and then the subsequent Jim Crows and all of the discrimination we are still enduring today. Now, we cannot take the mention or reference of chattel slavery out the conversation. That has to stay in. And then, as far as the Irish, I think that white Americans, at least back then, when the Irish were coming over here, I think they saw themselves in the Irish. Because let's not forget, the folks that came over here calling America their manifest destiny, remember, they were paupers and prisoners, and you know what I'm saying? They were low wage and trailer park. So, I think they saw the Irish and saw themselves, and that's the only reason why there was some contention there. But they still allowed them, based on the color of their skin, to buy their freedom and actually earn money to be able to buy their freedom. Whereas Black Americans, we didn't even get that option. So I land right there.
All right. Insane, did you want to clarify anything real quick? Because I don't know if maybe Mel felt it was some confusion in what you said, or are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was hearing people talk about how Jewish people got money for the Holocaust. When you drill down into that whole thing that happened with them, the tragedy, a book like the Nuremberg trials highlights who was put on trial. Sure, you had a few guards that were put on trial, but they tried the judiciary. The judiciary legislated the book that shit that happened to them. So if that somehow gives you greater insight into what I was attempting to express, there's a great film and there's a book about the Nuremberg trials. Now, the people who were put on trial, they were put on trial because of what happened there, the Holocaust. But a big part of them getting retributions is that the government, the system, was held accountable for what happened there. That is perhaps maybe that'll give you some better insights into what I'm saying. Yes, slavery was a part of it, but the government whom we're trying to get the money from effected certain measures. They have to be held accountable for that.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Newstoter, because I know you're like trying to go to round robin. Now I feel what you're saying, but and I get that argument, but I think our situation as Black Americans, our situation is we don't need to have no more of our story cut out. We need people to understand our story in its totality, and slavery plays a big part of it. And so I get you about the government, because the government plays.
I'm not saying it didn't.
No. And I'm not even saying that we're disagreeing. I think I understand what you were saying. I was just adding on based on what you just said. And what I'm saying is that, yeah, our story needs to be told in its entirety, every piece of it, especially because all these years it's been skewed and misapplied, and significant things have been omitted from it. So yeah, every piece of our story needs to go on trial, and these people need to be held accountable for it. I'll land, and thank you for indulging me, Newstoter. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. Black, I see you came up here to speak. Did you want to say anything?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Shout out to everybody in the space. I've had the same issues, getting kicked out, sound going out, but looks like I'm in here now. So I just wanted to address the thing about the Irish and any other groups that came over here that weren't initially considered white, but knew that they would eventually work their way into whiteness, and that was the plan. And it's very clear. So I put down in the chat that, that indenture servitude, and really a more apt term is apprenticeship, which dates back all these terms go all the way back to the Sumerians and Egyptians, almost 4,000 years ago. So they were literally apprentice, and you go from apprentice to journeyman and eventually to master. And I also posted down there where some of the Confederate Irish actually were slave holders themselves. Not all of the Irish in the country could afford to own human beings, but the ones who could did. And certainly if others could afford it, they certainly would have. So I look at it from the apprentice perspective, because that is how these societies operated for thousands of years, and the concept wasn't new to them. They understood that essentially they were going to be elevated to a higher status. So that's all I wanted to address.
Okay. Thank you, Black. I appreciate that. Anybody else that wants to speak? We probably get ready to close the space out in a little bit here. We've been going since 7 o'clock. Started an hour early today. So if anybody else wants to speak and say something, go ahead and let me know. Request a microphone. If not, then we'll go ahead and we'll close it out for the night and come back tomorrow at our regular time at 8 o'clock. So going once, going twice, going 3 times. So you guys don't want to say anything, I definitely understand that. I know it's probably been a long day for a lot of you guys as well, too. So once again, thank everybody for coming out to the space tonight. I appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow night. Thank you to the co-hosts. Hopefully we can get both of the co-hosts up in here, but having some issues with that. Hopefully we can get our regular speakers back up in here as well, too. So we've been having quite a few issues with people losing connection and coming in and out as well, too. So shout out to the space. Shout out to everybody. Reparations as always. Don't let this thing in San Francisco with the NAACP president go ahead and try to derail our situation. I see DJ trying to come up here. DJ, I'm pretty sure you ain't gonna be able to get up here. So let me see if you can. Let's see if you can get on up here. I'll try to get you up here. Let's see what's up. But yeah, shout out to everybody in the space. Sorry, DJ. Looks like we can't get you up here too. So I don't know what's up with this here, but Yeah, everybody, we'll go ahead and we'll see you guys tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Support us if you can on Cash App, $Newstoter. Once again, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black media news curation today platform in America. That's $Newstoter. Until then, guys, y'all have a good night, and we will see y'all tomorrow night.